This episode of Off the Job Podcast is sponsored by FlexiGas.
Welcome back to Off the Job. We have a guest today, a special guest. It's a good friend of the podcast. I'm Pete, this is Keiran, and we have John Cruickshank from Cruickshank Plumbing and Heating join us today. Welcome, John Cruickshank, and may I add, the first guest to bring us food on the day that Robbie and Keiran was fasting. So more for us. Thank you very much. Donuts.
You normally like it with the soup, didn't you?
Yeah, the sausage rolls. I like a sausage roll. Greg's sausage rolls.
Soup.
Oh yeah, dip it in the soup. Like that, Robbie, don't you? Do you like that, Robbie?
I'm going to try that one day.
It's so nice,
at 3:25
mate.
tomorrow.
Mate, do it. Get the sausage roll from Greg's and dip it in the soup. It's the bollocks.
Oh, enough about us.
All right then. Yeah. So how you doing, John? I thought it was in overtime for a second. How you doing, John?
All good, boys. All good. Thanks for having me on the show.
No worries, mate. No worries. So what are we talking about today then? Because you've been on a podcast lately and you're talking a few things that bother you in the industry, a few things that bother me in the industry. You know.
I think our bothers are completely different.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I mean, I just don't like the fucking industry, do I? But like you have got like
You're the total opposite, you two.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, Pete. It really irritates me that you hate the industry, but you're such a good plumber.
He's lying. He's
He's
lying.
Why do we work well together?
We do work well together because we come from that sort of like, you know, that domain of flat bashers and like getting jobs done and just not fucking around.
What you've got to realise, Pete, we're old school now.
Yeah, like him, we had to take a radiator off earlier. He didn't know what to do. I mean, get fucking hold of it. I mean, just put your finger over it and pull it up. It's falling. It's going. I'm going. Just get hold of it. It was embarrassing, and I thought to myself, he's meant to be a plumber.
I can see him like looking at me.
He's
like,
going, but just come away from the pipe. I was like, you used to be a plumber or what, mate? Well, just put your thumb over it and spin it.
You'll find out when I come work with you.
Out we come.
rusty tools out.
I have to take over.
Yeah, I can imagine. Imagine him coming to work with us. Can you imagine it?
Mate,
he'd go home crying.
He won't. Do you
I'm
know
going
what?
to be the apprentice for the day.
We'll carry you.
Just give you tools.
Yeah, it'd be, yeah. I think that's all you can do, really. I don't think I would trust you with anything else after that radiator earlier. Yeah, but so what's happening, mate? Because like you started a little bit before me in the industry. And what was that on? What sort of what work was that? How did you get started on the old? Come straight from school, didn't you?
Yeah, well, so the old man went down the pub on a Saturday night. Yeah, woke me up on Sunday morning and said, "You're starting with Richard the plumber." That was it. I had no option.
And you was like, "Can you get out?"
I didn't even know what plumbing was. Straight up, I always wanted to be an architect. So like growing up and things like that, really fancied like designing something, building that. I saw the glory in that sort of thing, and I just wasn't clever enough for that sort of thing. So I was in and out of jobs. I started actually as carpentry, but I can't cut bit of wood straight. So I'm still really good friends with the guy Neil. Went down to his workshop, beautiful in lovely setting, old Roman villa there and everything else like that. And after about 6 weeks, he went, "Look, John, you're a lovely lad, but can you fuck off?"
You're a wood butcher.
Yeah, I was. And then, so respect to him, he actually got me a job as an electrician with a friend of his. So I jumped in as a spark for a few weeks, and I picked it up really quick. Like electrics to me comes more natural. Like I'm just electrically minded, so I should have actually stayed doing electrics, but God, it's boring. Oh my God, there's only so much you can do. Once you rewire the house, I think that's it. That's the pinnacle of your electrical experience. So I just didn't enjoy it, and I sort of went astray in that, and I did a bit of labouring and that for a few weeks, and I just was in and out of trying to find where I was going to go. Was I going to go to college? Was I going to do this? Was I going to do that? And so that's how I ended up in plumbing. The old man just sort of, it's like Pete back in them days. Everyone went down the pub, they all chatted and said, "My boy's 16, he needs a job."
You like the back boiler days?
I am the old back boiler days.
Yeah, because you love a fire and a back boiler, and a lot of people are scared of them, aren't they?
What?
Back boilers, and just like, I don't want to touch that.
Took Pete to a Kingfisher, and he was standing over me going,
Don't fuck that.
Yeah, a lot of people are scared of, not scared, but like don't want to work on them.
That's right, because they don't understand.
Yeah.
That's the thing, they've missed that bit, where that was, I was fitting them.
Yeah.
Do you know, I was fitting them, I was servicing them and that. I remember knocking the old Nita heats off the wall to change the seals in the back. That we used to do 2 of them in the day. And people come across them now, they're like, "Whoa, I don't know what you..."
Yeah, like, where'd you put the flue gas analyzer?
Yeah, I'll be like this, it take like sometimes
where do you put it?
I'm looking, don't get me wrong, I think I fitted I fitted some like balanced flues back in the day, but I didn't ever fit a neater. But when you go to service that or try and take it off the wall, when you're trying to take it off the wall, you're like, where the frick did they screw this thing? Do you know what I mean? How did they fix it? What? Who done this? Nobody done this on their own. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
I remember taking the apprentice to a back boiler once, and he's shaking the front of it, and because he didn't realise there was two little screws all the way up the back. He's like really shaking it, but that is my generation, you know. And obviously, I learnt on those and that. But I started off actually in commercial, would you believe? And then as the council and everything and the housing association got broken up, we ended up jumping on board with whoever had needed guys, and then obviously I went to the house bashing days, and I think that was about the time Pete started. And it used to be a crew of 5 of us, and we used to get a whole heating system done in a day. We used to rock up nice and early, Lucas ate at lunch, and then worked all the way through. And this generation don't understand that. They're like, oh, I'll be like, 2 weeks on a heating job. You're like, 2 weeks, well, I've done 14 of them.
That's what it was though. We'd turn up, we'd rock up with a team 4 or 5 of us, and we'd be like ripping out the whole heating, ripping out the bathrooms, and we'd be putting them back in a flat in a day. We'd be finishing maybe sometimes them bathrooms, they had cloakrooms as well in them flats as well. Like, the ones in Clapham and all that up in Hackney and that. There was a lot of work, and a lot of them were having Harton units. Do you remember the old Harton units? We was fitting them with Alpha CB or S system boilers.
System boilers, yeah.
We was fitting them with Alphas and doing the full suites and all that in a day with 4 of us. It was mental. The amount of work you got through, and you was eating pipe like all day. You was just eating pipe, and it started at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Sandwiches.
You'd start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you'd probably walk out of there about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening as well. Sometimes, if you're having a bad day, if you had a good day, you was finishing. You'd be gone by 3. That was maybe if it was a bit of a smaller installation, but some of the flats were monsters. Like they were monstrous amount of work. Yeah,
well, my job was to just hang radiators for a whole year. So basically, I got thrown in the back of the van with another guy called Lee. And then as we were driving to the job, I was making up all the towels and everything. I had 2 blocks of wood. I didn't even need a tape measure. I just needed a pencil and 2 blocks of wood because they're all set at standard height. So bang the blocks of wood there, top of the radiator, brackets on.
No, well, mate,
it was so quick.
Yeah, that's it. Me and we didn't figure that out really, but we knew all the measurements for every flat. Yeah. So every flat. So when we was on Kingsmead, it was easier. So that was just a full heating in a day. But you'd go in and you knew the ground floors were always different from the up floors because the windows were always higher, weren't they? And you'd go around. You might make up like a thing for your clips because it was all surface pipe work. So you'd make up a little thing for your clips. Go around, hover. And then you go around all the radiators, mark them all up, and your mate would be behind just drilling all the holes. And then you'd go around with all your raw plugs, and then he'd go around and just screw it all up. And if everything was done, you knew you was on for a good flat if you was done by 10 o'clock, marking drills away. Because drills wouldn't come back out after you, do you know what I mean?
So me and you have that old saying, if the boiler's not on the wall piped up by 1 o'clock, you're screwed.
Yeah, yeah.
And remember, I forward the clocks, didn't I, on that job?
I was like, fucking hell!
So me and Pete did a boiler install together, and I got there and I moved all the clocks in the whole house by 2 hours. And he's upstairs in the loft, and I was like, Pete, it's 1 o'clock. He's like, no way, with the boiler's not even piped up. And he started panicking, but it's only 11.
I was thinking, fucking hell, what's going on? Like, what time's this flown, innit? But but you'd have that like sort of like that thing. But before we was even getting in the flats, they used to have the old saw stacks and that in the kitchens and stuff. We'd be like pulling sets outside before we even got in the flat because we knew there was a saw stack to get round. And then just when you went in, it was like a jigsaw puzzle. Pull all your offsets off the boiler, pull all your sets around the saw stacks, join it all up. You'd be doing them by like, in the end, me and my mate, we was doing them by like 11, 12 o'clock. It was ridiculous. One time they got out by fucking 10:30, I think it was, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's ridiculous. No, we didn't flush it.
but you never told the boss because he would say, right, move to the next door.
But he would, but that was the thing. Like, and when we was on price work back in the day, whose fucking podcast is this, yours or mine? Like, I'm selling, you're meant to be the guest, but I'm talking here, sorry. But it was a case of, but you know it, don't you? But it was a case of, you'd do a flat on price, but then if you finished early, you'd be doing other bits on price. You wouldn't be able to go, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But you worked with some characters, though. I worked with a good team at the time, and I learnt a lot from them. Even if you was a fitter or you was the guy, the boiler man, you was the Corgi registered guy, and down to the, like I said, there was me and another guy called Lee. We was the apprentices at the time, and you learnt a lot. You learn, and I think that's where my work ethic comes now. Like I see, people like finishing at 4 o'clock, and I'm just getting started.
This next break room segment is brought to you by FlexiGas.
FlexiGas is Kite Mark certified and meets EN 15266. That's the standard for stainless steel gas pipe.
Up to 0.5 bar, natural gas and LPG, suitable commercial and domestic.
It's also fire resistant too. Holds tight 650 degrees for up to half an hour.
So not just a quick fix, it's got proper approvals behind it.
And that's the break room wrapped. Back to the good stuff.
And I think that's what you like, Pete, isn't it?
Our vampire plumbing.
Our vampire plumbing. Yeah, but it's like a generation thing, and I feel like that generation graphs person has gone.
I think because you really enjoy the job. Not many people do.
Well, tell the truth, when I was in my teen years, I really didn't know. I didn't know about it. That makes sense. I was sort of like drifting through life and sort of like like a bit haze to it all and that. And it went into my like late 20s and 30s when I sort of like had a serious relationship with my wife, and then like needed a mortgage and that, and sort of like knuckled down. And at that time, I think this was about 2004. I've been house bashing now for about 6-7 years. Got called into the office because obviously pay was really crap and stuff, and then we was nicking the scrap, because that was brilliant money then. You was earning more in scrap.
Mate.
It was back then. You was getting 173 a week after your tax and everything.
We went Vegas on the scrap.
It's crazy amounts of money. So we was nicking it, and I got called into the office by my boss Danny, and he sat there, and I thought, I've got a can here. I'm going to have to go down the pub and find myself a new job again. You know what I mean? And then he sat me down, and there's this yellow thing in front of him, and he slid it across the table to me and went, "Good luck." And I was like, "What's this?" He went, "It's a multimeter. You're a breakdown engineer." Because we went from open vent systems to combi boilers.
Right.
We was fitting them, but no one knew how to repair them.
That's another thing. Open vent people were a bit wary of.
Yeah, but the S and Y plans, W's and C's and everything, which they're coming back with the heat pumps and everything. So I went from there to breakdowns, and then because I was more electrically minded, I picked up breakdowns really quick. But nobody told me how to use a multimeter. So I remember going to Thamesmead Library after getting this thing, finding a book on electronics, and then reading it, and sort of like, because the internet was in its infancy then, and I didn't own a computer at the time, and I just picked up breakdowns. So when you see me on the socials, more people know me as a breakdown engineer and fault finding, and I get a lot of calls from other heating engineers. And sort of over the last 20 years, I've sort of gathered a world of knowledge in breakdowns. But yourself, heat pumps and renewables are coming in. Those boilers that was very good on and very knowledgeable on, that knowledge has now disappeared. So I'm losing a lot of knowledge that I gathered in the last 20 years. It's become redundant. So as you said, like a lot of those guys are scared to work on those older boilers and things. I'm not, because that's my generation. Like I walk into it, repair it with a pencil. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes there's a...
Yeah.
What would you say, one of the biggest transition is then of like back boilers, open vents, combi, like what?
No, well, you think about it, combi's just a system boiler squeezed, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got everything in one thing. But renewables, now there's a jump. Now Pete's been on a few heat pump jobs with me, and you've done a few, haven't you, mate? And it's a whole new world. I personally don't think the renewable side of things should have gone to plumbers and heating engineers. It should have gone to the HVAC guys, because it's more in their remit than it is plumbers. But obviously there's mountains of money in the renewable side of things, and the industry is very greedy. And so that's why I think we got it over the HVAC guys,
Would you say it's easy enough to get into air source heat pumps?
It's easy enough to get into.
It's easy enough to get into. It's just fucking getting out of it and getting your head around it, I suppose, isn't it? Like,
you can walk into it, and you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble if you don't hit the books.
What would you say the challenges are?
Lack of willingness, to tell the truth. So the trades, I think the average age of a tradesperson is 50 years old. Okay. I'm probably a rarity at 46, wanted to retrain in renewables. You know, like I find it interesting. I find the whole mathematics, the design very interesting, and that went through the whole MCS process. Absolutely horrendous process. You know, there's nothing wrong with the MCS. It's actually the build up to the process that's the issue. But people like Pete and others I'm speaking to, they don't want to retrain. So where are you going to find this 50,000 installers you need for 600,000 heat pumps? If people like Pete with the knowledge, the skill, you know, that's been through the whole thing, they don't want to retrain, what are you going to do? So now you've got yourself a perfect storm. So I would love to have an apprentice. You know, I'm getting old. He's my apprentice. You know, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a perfect storm. I would love to have an apprentice, but it's too expensive as a one-man band to hire an apprentice. All the money goes to the colleges. Yeah, what they're going to offer me $2,000. They don't even pay for their liability insurance for the year. But recently I found out the colleges get like 21,000 per, you know, pupil. Student. You know, I want that 21,000 because I believe with the whole renewables and the way that the industry's changed once again that I've seen in the last 30 years, going to college one day a week and giving money to the colleges with these great big buildings and that's old hat. That was yesterday.
Because that model ain't working, because people ain't taking on apprentices.
Okay, so I went into one college locally to here, and I was supposed to be there, you know, because obviously they won the installer award to give some incentives, you know, some like, you know, sort of like, you know, this is what you have to do and stuff like that. And I said to a simple question, I said, how many of you are actually with employers? And remember, this is a big group. It's about 40, 45 students there. Two put their hands up. Two. What are the other 43 doing?
The reason for this, John, is because of education. You have to be in education now to the age of 18.
Yeah.
So kids are picking any old course just because they don't want to be at school. So they can be with their mates, right? And they've got absolutely no interest in doing that. It was just a placement that they could get on, maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Understand.
Yeah. So people are going to college just because it's ending their education. Not for no other reason, but just to go to college because they've got to be in education. And that's the thing. You saying they're paying 21 grand on each pupil. How many of these pupils come out of that course and actually end up being in the industry?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they say that college is now certified, you know, 10,000 students in the last 5 years as qualified plumbers, but they're not actually in the plumbing industry plumbing.
No.
You know, who is the greatest teacher in our industry? It's the man in the van. Yeah. The person you sit next to every day. You will learn everything from him. How to run a business, how to speak to clients, how to plumb, how to tidy your tools away.
Not with him.
No, not with him. We won't build those. You know. But do you understand? He will teach you from the grassroots all the way to your running your own business one day, because you're watching that person in the van day in, day out. So why do you have to go to college one day a week? Why can't you do that learning online in the evenings in 10-minute, half-hour segments? Yeah, peer to peer. I can guarantee you that a lot of people have probably learnt more on social media in the last 2 years, like tips, tricks, servicing that, than they have doing 2 years at college.
Yeah, definitely. Without a doubt, the amount of people who openly admit that is
crazy. Because they're saying, I looked at the college, what they teach the colleges now, and I know that plumbing's pretty much all the same for the last 30, 40, 50 years. But you don't need to be sitting in a classroom learning health and safety for half a year. You could do that online in the evening times, in your own time, sit the test, fail it, you know. And if the college says you have to come in to see us because you're failing it and maybe do some one-to-one, fine. But I don't think that they deserve the money that they do when the bulk of the learning happens with the person they're with. Yeah. And I say some radical changes in the industry needs to happen. Like the person in the van needs that £30,000-40,000. And if he doesn't get that person qualified in that 2 years, maybe they've got to pay that back. Yeah. Maybe there's an incentive to do it. You know, and so if you gave that tradesperson that type of money, they can say, well, do you know what? For the next 2 years, their wages is sorted, their liabilities is sorted, and I've got free help. But this guy is going to be trained up. He's going to, and he can learn in the evening times. And that's my gripe with the industry is they're saying, well, we're going to fast track people through colleges. You can't fast track anybody in this game because what will happen? Your house is going to have a different postcode. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and but that's that side of things. So when it comes to renewables, even the most experienced people with 30 years experience, my experience, God, I struggle. 25. Well, you know.
Not 50
I struggled to do it, even though I've been doing it day in, day out, because a lot of that information I wasn't taught properly to start with and I had to pick up, or I just forgot it and I had to reteach myself. And that's the problem with renewables is that there's so much learning. You can't just go and do a 3-day course and say, I'm going to go and fit heat pumps now, because there is so much.
What's the biggest thing to learn, would you say, on the air source heat pumps?
No, the electrics is easy. It's just
for you it is, but to me, I was looking at it thinking, fucking.
Well, it's just all plug and play.
I was just thinking, jeez.
It's the understanding. It's where to start from. So, I mean, all the time people ring me up and they say, "How much is it going to cost me to have an air source heat pump in your house?" I don't know, mate. Why don't you know? Well, because I haven't done a heat loss calculation. What's that? Because you've always got to start at square one. Heat loss calculation. You've got to understand what your property is losing in energy at a given design temperature.
A lot of people just fit them, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because you can't do that because that comes from the old combi slingers.
Yes.
That comes from the attitude of, I'll just get a combi, I sling it in, don't matter because we've got excess amount of kilowatts to play with.
30
and it's going to heat the room.
24 a flat, 30 a house.
You haven't got that with a heat pump. You ain't got that.
That's
so
right.
If you lose, you want to, like you said to me, you want to consume that heat. You want to keep that heat.
Every morsel. And
using it to heat the house, and not obviously heat underhouses, under floorboards, fucking windows with drafts around them and shit like that. Because you've got how many kilowatts on an air source?
Well, the biggest that you can fit in. Well, you can fit any size, but realistically, a 10 kilowatt is all you really got. But the ones that we've done have all been 5 kilowatts.
Yeah, I was going to say 5 and 7 kilowatts. 5
and 7 kilowatts have been tiny little units, but we need to make sure that every morsel of energy is kept, because we can't waste not even 0.5% of that, because we need it to be making the house comfortable.
So for anyone that don't know, what are the key steps then in fitting an air source heat pump? Like you say, obviously heat loss calculation. What are the things that people ain't doing? Like the heat loss calculation, what are the main sort of steps? You should be doing it even for a gas boiler. Yeah. You're supposed to be, if you're designing a system, you're supposed to be doing a heat loss calculation room by room, seeing how much energy per room's losing. Then from that you say, well, that room's losing 2 kilowatts of energy. Then you size your radiator to your flow temperature. So if you want a 55 degree flow temperature, but under Part L we've got to comply by. So then you've got to work out your radiator size, then your pipe size. And then, what if a customer just wants a new boiler though? They don't want a new install, new radiators.
Give me and Peter a call and we'll chuck it in tomorrow.
Get it done by 10, mate.
We've had 1 or 2 then, Pete. but there's always a process. It don't matter if it's a 20-bedroom mansion or a 1-bed flat. There's a process that you have to follow by. Yeah. And if you don't do that, you're going to mess up. And then
I'd say number one, the first thing is sighting the thing, innit?
Cool, yeah.
Where are you going to put it? Are you allowed to put it there?
Sand test. You've got to do sand tests and that. I mean, the other thing that people don't realise, and the colleges don't teach, especially this 3-day course, is the paperwork side of things. It's horrendous. I mean, I think there's 64 documents in total that you've got to fill out, or forms and that.
To be qualified.
It's bad enough trying to get people to fucking do benchmarks on boilers.
Exactly.
What, to the install or to be qualified?
No. So you have a proposal that everything's got to have contracts. You've got to put proposal estimated and that, and then you're how much they're going to use in energy and how much that's going to cost them energy and that. So massive big proposal. Then you've got the in-house stuff. So all the stuff that you design, it's horrendous. And then you've got the handover. So the handover is all the certifications, your DNO. So it means letting local network, knowing that you're disconnecting, putting a heat pump on the grid. You've got the electrical certs, you've got the benchmarks, you've got the commissioning forms, you've got the building regulations, you've got your unvented. It's endless. And then this is another thing about the industry as well. Gas Safe, people moan about Gas Safe, but I think their business model is really good. Like they will, you hardly ever hear from them, and if you get a complaint, they're on you, But then, they might ring you up and say, right, you've got some online tests to do just to see how you're doing, your safety procedures and things like that. And then they might say, well, in a blue moon, we're going to come out and inspect a job and that, But with MCS and, NIC, NAPIT and all that, it's annual. Yeah. It's like they're on you.
Just remind me, I've got to renew my gas station.
Yeah, we spoke to, what's your friend, Jason? Yeah. He works for...
NAPIT. Is it NAPIT?
Yeah. NAPIT, yeah.
He's worked for both. I don't know which one I think he works for NIC.
NIC.
But yeah, they go out every year. Yeah, like say Gas Safe, like plumbers got it easy.
But their business model's quite good because maybe they should be. I reckon that like NAPIT now, if you're not getting a complaint from an air source heat pump installer and their paperwork's in order, you should think, okay, well we give them another year and see how they get on and things like that. But they're on you. Even if you're, very compliant, you're doing a good job and stuff like that, they're on you. Like, last Saturday I just had my NIC inspection. Then before that I had a NAPIT inspection. Then I had an Ofgem inspection. And it just never ending. So like, obviously...
It's giving me anxiety.
Exactly,
that, man.
Exactly. It's terrifying because you're constantly getting checked and you feel like you've done something wrong. You feel like, what happens if I haven't put a bit of sleeving on that bit of electrical, and stuff like that. Because I can honestly admit, and I've never done a job that's 100%. If you tell me that you've done a job at 100%, you're a frigging liar.
Yeah, I never done a job that's 70%.
now he tells me. But there is no way. But they can pick you up on the littlest things. If you wouldn't even think about it, you're like, where the hell? Because it's so easy to criticise somebody.
Of course it is. Yeah. It's at the end of the day, common sense is not adhered to, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not adhered to.
And that's what we miss in this modern industry to what we have. How many times have you and I have gone to it and said, do you know what? Our years of experience, that'd be all right.
Yeah.
And we've been bang on the money.
Yeah.
But, like to a modern age person, they'll go, oh my God.
Turn it off. Cut it off. Give me a cap.
Do I have to call the health and safety executive?
But it's like, and he's what? Oh, there's a bit of earth bonding.
That'd be all
there's a bit of earth bonding adrift. It's like you got to just use your noggin. And a lot of people are too trigger happy. Let's riddle. It's like, hold on a minute. Do you know what I mean?
I see something on Facebook a little while ago, and the guy was like, I had to riddle this boiler, and I sent him a message saying, that boiler's been there 40 years and you've riddled it now.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Over the flue being like 50 mil too cut. I was like, if there was an issue, it would have been picked up 40 years ago. It's like, and that's the thing now. And I get it because there is so much
scaremongering.
Yes, and you sort of there's that mistrust everywhere as well. It's like there's a generational mistrust, and they think that you're a rogue or you're out to just take their money when you're actually not. It's just a little bit of confidence. And I always say to people, I might be a little bit more expensive than the next person, but I bring confidence to the table. And I'm at that stage in my life now, and experience and all the stuff that I've been through, and done and everything, that I walk through the door with confidence. And when you get to a certain level,
good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, when you get to a certain level, you're just like, I know what this problem is. It's going to cost you X amount of pounds, and that. They're like, oh, it's a bit expensive. I'm like, but trust me, you can call it.
It will be fixed. Yeah,
it will be fixed.
I won't be back.
Yeah, and that's what we're selling now is confidence.
So you know your job. It's like basically saying that when somebody comes up behind me and I'm working on their board, and they go, "You don't mind me watching you, do you?" And I go, "No, I don't care."
It's an extra tenner.
Yeah. You want me with clothes on and clothes off? I know, but it's confidence at the end of the day. If you're confident in what you're doing, I know sometimes it can be a bit annoying, but some people start sweating, don't they? Do you know what I mean? Somebody's watching me doing my job. Well, what's the problem with that? If you're confident in doing your job, you should be confident with somebody just watching you and chatting to you while you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
That's what I think.
you've got nothing to hide, have you?
That's it.
I actually do like it when a client stands there watching me because I explain to them what I'm doing.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, doing a gas
they
safety.
know what they're getting for their money that way as well, don't
Doing
they?
a gas safety the other day, and he said to me, "Oh, what are you doing at me?" I said, "I'm doing a gas rate." "Oh, what are you doing? Inlet pressure, doing a burner pressure because it's an old boiler and that, you know." And he was
Yeah.
like, "Oh." So if the next person comes along,
Yeah.
and he doesn't do that, the guy's gonna go, "Hold on a minute,
Exactly.
our previous person did that."
Because how many times you've been to a job where they go, he never done that. Do you know what I mean? How many times? And how long was he here for? 10 minutes. All right. And he done a full service on that Worcester Junior. Did he? All right, mate. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So when I went to a back boiler recently, and I've got the Hoover out. Classic old saying, "I've never seen that before." it's like, funny enough, with a back boiler, this is the one thing you do need.
Yeah. You need Henry.
And it's like, what's that smoke going up the chimney? Well, it's electing a new pope, aren't I? So, but yeah, and that's the problem with the industry, is that everybody's so quick to jump on it, and you're starting to see that in social media more and more. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Just please don't be that guy, because you're irritating. It's true, and you're not there on the job. So how the frigging hell do you know what to do?
I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some horrors out there.
Oh, I love the
People
horrors.
show and you think to yourself, fucking hell, that is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But sometimes when people are being like finicky for being finicky, it's
Yeah.
like, listen, mate, get another job. Well, do you know what I mean?
When I see that, the first thing I want to say to them is, show us. Post your work.
Yeah.
Coming in, if that guy is so wrong in what he's done, he's designed it wrong, he's got that pump's too big, or he's got too many motorised valves and that, show us your work, because I tell you what, when you go to their page, there's nothing on them.
Mate, the thing is, right, like you said, nobody's ever done 100% job.
100%.
Yeah? And everybody has cut a corner. Yeah, I don't care who you are. Everybody in this industry has cut a corner one way or another.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
there's sneakiness in
I'm
everybody.
not saying it's not right to do it if it's a safety thing or whatever.
No.
Yeah, I'm not
Like
abiding
saying
by
you
that.
said that'd be alright.
But I'm saying, don't tell me you've never lashed a bit of plastic in and not clipped it or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Don't tell me you've never propped a waste up with a bit of wood. Don't tell me you've never done these things. You know what I mean? Don't tell me, because we all fucking well have. We all have, you know?
But sometimes you can't do the job the way that the regulations
That's it,
tell you,
yeah.
because of whatever reason and that. So you adapt, improvise and overcome. That's it, you know, and that's the way it is. And I think the better engineers are the ones that actually can do that.
Yeah.
You know, the guys that, you know, it's Friday evening and it's bang up in the middle of central London, they want to get home and that, and the next thing, you know, bang. And that's when that's when the tips and tricks come in handy. And that's when you think on your feet and you start doing stuff that you wouldn't normally do. But you think, do you know what, that's actually handy that I've done that, and to, you know, overcome that problem for the next time.
But you know your worth as well. You've got the knowledge, you know your worth. It's like my mate was like sometimes he's moaned about how much money, and I don't charge him a particularly high day rate, like for being I'm his plumber, builder guy, I work for. And I think to myself, don't moan, right? Don't moan, like, how much you're paying me, right? Because, like, you're not just paying me for the day rate here. You're paying me because you know I'm going to come back, or I'm going to have a solution for what's going wrong on your job. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I know exactly what's going to go wrong, or if you come at me with a problem, I'm going to solve it, and I'm going to take my time out and probably not even charge you for coming to look at jobs to price them and stuff like that. So you're not just getting me for that day rate, you're getting the whole package for that deal that you've got with me. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's the game of chess, isn't it, Pete? You know yourself, you can see 4 or 5 steps down the line where it's going to go. When you go back to that job, you've thought of those steps already, so you haven't snookered another trade, you haven't snookered yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's experience at the end of the day.
Well, mate, he phoned me the other day and he said, we've got hot water coming out of the toilets. Now, I didn't fit the toilets or anything on this job. I've only done the heating on it. But I put a circulating hot water pump on it. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. I've not crossed the pipe somewhere. And then I thought to myself, no, hang on a minute. He's gone, so where is the hot water problem? He's gone in the new bathroom he's put in. I went, check the shower valve.
That's it.
Check the shower valve. Phones me back up. a day later, yeah, you don't have to worry about what problem we found, a problem with shower valve. Well, I fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? Because you just know, don't you? I am confident in what I do, in what work that I've put in.
Well, you and I have had this conversation many a times and that about day rates and that, and I've always said to you, you know your worth. I know your worth.
What's your view on pricing?
Don't say it too much, Ken. People moan about us going on about money too much. You fucking wankers.
Well, I think.
What's your view, like day rate, servicing costs, and
I think the whole. Okay, so when it comes to pricing, people see tradespeople as the naughty kids, the kids that are not clever enough, that have gone into trade. So why am I going to give them £500 a day? There's that mindset from clients is like, oh, because they don't wear a shirt and tie, they must be stupid. Well, I tell you what, some of the cleverest people on the planet built this country. When we was in COVID, they said gas engineers were a key worker, so we had to continue to work. They didn't tell the hedge fund managers and the bankers, you're a key worker, you've got to... They stuck all those gits on furlough, do you know what I mean? But they told us, so we're worth what we pay. I know my worth. I know my value to the country and to my family, you know. So when I see the race to the bottom happening quicker than ever, I think to myself, guys, you're only cutting your own throat because you're better than that. You're better. So as I said to you, my day rate is strong because of my experience, and it's taken a lot of time, effort for me to get here. You know, I've done a lot of training. I've done a lot of qualifications, even though they don't mean anything, the qualifications, and because it's all down to experience in my eyes. I'd rather have somebody with 20 years worth of experience and 0 papers than someone with 20 papers and 0 experience. But I price a job accordingly. So if it's an emergency, obviously it's like a call out charge, hourly rate, stuff like that. Might be a bit more expensive, but once again, getting back to the whole thing in that, you guarantee I'm going to be on that site. If I can't fix it today, I will come back tomorrow and fix it. So I know what the problem is. My day rate is my day rate. I normally give that to my pals if they want me to jump on a job. I don't normally give a day rate to a client because that can cause a lot of friction, especially if you overrun. They're like, a client expects you to do so much beyond what you can physically do as a human being in a day because they think that you overcharge them in the first place.
It's that old one, isn't it? It's that old one. If you're on site for 3 days and you said to them, I'm pricing it up at 300, just say for instance, 300 a day for 3 days, that's 900 quid, right? So I'm basing it off of a day rate, never say that, because then if you go 5 days, are they going to pay you?
5 days.
Are they going to pay you 5 days? No, they ain't. They're going to pay you the 900 quid, ain't they? Yeah. And if you finish earlier than anticipated, they'll be like, do I owe you 900 quid? Do you know what I mean? So never base anything and tell your customer you're basing it on a day rate. At the end of the day, you're I've said this in a reel the other day, you are paying for a fucking result. You're not paying for my time. You're paying for a result.
That's it.
That's what you're paying for, and that's what I'm pricing for the result.
And that's what a lot of the Joe public doesn't understand. You know, I don't care if you're a plasterer, bricklayer, you know, you are worth what you are worth. And if you think you're worth a £10 more a day, start charging at £10. Because if we all start uplifting our prices, we all have a better quality of life. Now, this is probably going down to the mental health of the industry as well, is because a lot of people losing work, they can't pay their bills, you know, they're getting undercut. Now, I got undercut the other day by a gas engineer. Fair enough. I'm not gutted that I lost the job, you know. But what I sort of had to sort of think of myself is, how could he do it for that price? When I found out he lives at home with his mum, he's got no bills, he probably gives her 20 quid a week. You know, he's only got himself and his van to look after. I've got a family. Yeah,
but this is what we were saying in previous episode. It's depending on what you have got outgoing.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But it shouldn't be.
No, that's right.
It should be a standard or roundabout way.
What do you think people should charge, as a minimum sort of call out? Would you say it relates to where you live in the country?
No.
I don't think it should.
No,
because people still earn the same amount of money up north.
I was actually surprised to hear this, that, you know, what I charge for a gas safety in London, people in Leeds are charging. So, but I'm thinking to myself, I've got more stresses than a person in Leeds, parking, congestion charge.
I don't know, you've been to Leeds. Sorry about all the Leeds followers.
But I was actually, so it's not regional, it's actually national, the price. But I do believe there needs to be some kind of union now. I think the CIS system that we currently pay our taxes and everything is very outdated. And to do business in Britain, it's so tax heavy. I can see why we're not getting any investment in the country, because it's just so, there's too many taxes. Doing business in England, is so burdened, and if you're a millionaire coming into the country, you could have a great lifestyle, but trying to build a business up now, there's too many taxes. And from 2026, you've got to do a quarterly CIS return.
Is it 2026?
It's next year, yeah.
But it's going to be this year.
It was going to be this year, but I read it on the way here that it's like next year, 1st of April now. But you used to submit your books once a year. It's going to be now quarterly. Well, that's even more burden on the person now, because obviously the accountant's got to do it if you've got an accountant.
The accountant's got to do it 4 times a year now, no?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what's
but if you're saying it's only CIS, that's only related to like subcontractors.
Still a massive big portion of the industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
All of us technically are subcontractors. I just subbed out some work for another firm, and so when people say to me, it's what should somebody be charging an hourly rate, it's what you feel comfortable with. That makes sense.
Then that's maybe the wrong way of thinking it, because
that'll be
like you
changed,
say, some people might be comfortable charging £40.
Yeah,
then
that's a good
everyone's
point, actually.
You know what I mean? It's like,
but then maybe there should be a union to say that you can't
£100 call out. We've done it for £100 straight away as soon as I put my foot over that threshold. Right, yeah.
One thing that I do think that should happen in the industry, and I'm going to probably get absolutely slated for this, so I'm going to say it anyway. I think everybody should go VAT registered.
Fuck off, John.
There you go. The reason being is because it becomes a level playing field then, because I lose a lot of work because I am VAT registered as a business, and a sole trader that's not obviously 20% cheaper than myself, right? But I think all the construction should be VAT registered, but at the same time, half it.
Well, how about how about no one VAT registered?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, funny enough, we had this conversation a little while ago. I was like, why you put VAT on heating and hot water? It's not like it's a luxury. It's actually it's a human necessity to have hot water. And obviously, am I a value added tax as a business? No, really, because obviously without a boiler, you haven't got a very comfortable life, have you?
No.
That's not a bad point. Yeah, make everyone sort of be VAT registered.
Okay.
And then make it 10%. And
exactly.
If it works out like half and half.
But then it's an equal playing field for everybody then. So that that plumber who's living at home with his mum and dad, he's not cheaper than me. So people like myself can have a foot in the door of pricing and things like that. But in renewables, it's zero VAT. So if I do a heat pump, none of it's VAT. So it's zero VAT. So, and that's on materials and labour.
Is that at the moment though?
They're 2027 days, but will they extend that on because of the decarbonisation of the country? I think it probably will. Obviously time will tell if this podcast is outdated and things, but I know that the bus money, the grant boiler upgrade scheme money will run out, and will it get replaced by another type of scheme? I don't know. I'm not privy to that.
Do you believe in the push of air source heat pumps? Like,
I think the technology is fantastic. I'm a massive advocate.
Because a lot of people say it don't work, and
that's getting back to the design of it again. You design it properly, then it's going to work. There's this whole thing about fabric first and then measure. So what that means is that you insulate, you change your windows, you do cladding on the outside, all that. I'm measure first, see what you've got, and see if the heat pump will work. Now, the reason I'm that way around, a client of mine recently, he said, well, I want an air source heat pump. And I was like, okay. And he goes, but we're going to be spending £40,000 on this cladding for our building because it's absolutely wonderful, and fairies will come and fit it, and there'll be unicorns shitting all over the roof. Do you know what I mean? And because he was sold it by a very good salesperson. So I said to him, well, okay, what's the U value of it? So they gave me the figures and everything. Well, I punched it into the software that I use. And it come back that it was only going to save them 0.5 kilowatt of energy. And I was like, wait a minute. So you're saving 0.5 kilowatt of energy on this £40,000 investment. I was like, if you go up in your loft and put another 150 mil up there for 600 quid. We're actually going to save you 3 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Well, that he was like straight on the phone. I want to cancel that order, before 14 days. And that's the thing is that, step one, find out what you've got. Then you can do your design. Then you can size it correctly. And that's even if you're doing a gas boiler. That's how you should be doing it. Pete knows this better than anyone. We did a heating system together last year, don't you remember, in Greenwich? And what did I walk on with? Calculations. We hung the radiators. We put the boiler in, the pipework and that.
Yeah.
We balanced the whole system correctly.
Was that a Worcester 4000?
And Worcester 4000 on weather comp. Don't you remember?
That's
so
it.
we 45-degree flow rate. Maximum. We set the weather comp curve out. Went back this year to service it. How was your house? Never been so hot.
How much they saved money as well, didn't they? And their gas, what was the gas?
He was. I think he said £500 down for the year. So obviously
It's a good saving.
It's a good saving, and over I think it was worked out 8 years. He will get that money back.
Yeah.
And it's
There's not a lot of installers like you, John, that do that. Like, you're very experienced, very knowledgeable.
Oh, they're out there. There are other installers.
But there's not
out there.
many. That's what I'm saying. There's not many.
We all could be like that. We know.
But people ain't that interested to be like that.
And that's the problem the government's going to have.
But the problem is, though, right, the education starts with the homeowner.
Yes.
That's your problem. Because I can walk into a job like I did, or the property owner, and I can say, and they can go, I just want to rad there, rad there. Yeah, and I go, it don't really work like that.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? It don't really work like that, but I'm supplying it. I went, but do you want a decent job done, or you just want some monkey putting in the pipes to wherever and putting any size rad in and any sort of control and any size boiler? Is that what you want? Because I'm not pricing for that. I'm pricing for me to design it, or John, you know what I mean?
I never heard design come out of his mouth.
But
This is the Pete I get on the job. I get this type of Pete. All of the showboating and showman that you get on social media and on the podcast and that. He's not like this on the job. He's very, this is what frustrates me.
But
with
if you're doing a big job, a proper job, you do want to do it properly, don't you?
100%.
Because you want them in the long run to get out of it as well.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And if somebody else comes in and go, I can undercut you by like $5,000 or whatever, they're going to go for the undercut because they don't know.
That's it.
So they don't care.
But they don't care. They just want. They see at the
They
end.
see that.
I said it the other day. When you say a price to somebody, or you go through all your thing, your client will see this on the quote. Blah 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 10 grand.
Yeah.
Blah 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 8 grand. I'll have the 8 grand one. It don't matter.
That's right.
Don't matter because the education is not there for that. It's not there. They don't educate themselves. So they don't know what's
like some
but
some
you
don't
could go
care.
through it all night long with them. But if you could talk to them and tell them, you know what I mean, when we're talking about like.
Yeah, but you say how hard it is to learn it anyway, let alone trying to
No,
teach
but I'm
to
not
a
saying.
customer
No, I'm not
that
saying they've got to educate themselves on knowing what they're going to save, what goes into it. Not talking about the general mechanics of it, but they need to know what's the
It's
basics.
a certain type
do
of
you know what I
customer
mean?
base. A lot of people will say, people ain't going to pay the money for me to design it. Bloody
Yeah,
do all
okay.
this
So
stuff.
that's if they're getting a new heating system. What about existing systems, right? So a lot of these boilers actually have a lot of technology, open firm, they have bus, all the different things in there. What do you go in? You see an on-off control on the wall. You see an old clicky stat, and then you see a slide on-off. So, you can save up to, £300 a year if you upgrade your controls. To load compensating, weather comp, or optimising some controls. So you could buy a decent set of controls for less than £100, put it onto open firm, save £300 a year, and you could get that money back, like the equipment and the installation cost, and save yourself 12% on average for a year.
What do you buy when you get a car? What do you look at? What optional extras in it? What do they call them?
Heated steering wheel.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, But when you buy a motor or a van, you've got the optional. What do they call them? Optional extras.
Like packages.
Optional extras.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that the name for it?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same as you, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you buy a motor, you want it to have electric windows, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They all come with electric windows now, but it used to be an option, didn't it? But as well, air conditioning, innit? It's all optional extras. But people are willing to pay that on a fucking motor, which is like 30 fucking grand.
Which they don't sleep in.
Which they don't sleep in. Which they, that's
Can you
luxury.
turn my mic down? Bloody Pete shouting in my ear.
But they'll buy all that, wouldn't they? They'll buy all that, but then lose that X amount of money after 4 years of having it and chopping it in. Do you know what I mean?
I always say to people, right, never skimp on the services. That's your gas, your plumbing and your electrics. Otherwise, you're just living in a fancy cave. Because they'll be happy to spend 60, 70,000 pound on a kitchen that looks wonderful, but really it's just to hold your knife and forks and a few plates, and to just for you to put shit in. Because how many kitchen cupboards you've gone to and it falls out on you and you're like, for God's sake, But people seem to always skimp on the basics. It's really strange. I never quite, and it's always been that way.
Spec was the word I was looking for. Spec.
I've got a question.
Go on.
All the knowledge you've gained, all the systems you've fitted, if you could put the perfect system in a new house, what would it be?
It'd definitely be an air source heat pump. It really would. Open loop system, all run at the same temperature, so you've got that lovely background.
What would the radiators, underfloor heating?
Underfloor heating, yeah. So you've got that ambient temperature throughout. I know, like, you're supposed to design it like bedrooms 18 degrees, bathrooms 22 degrees, living room spaces, 21 degrees now. I'd have it all at a comfortable 20 with a very good humidity level, throughout. I would definitely
air source heat pump.
100%. I'm a massive advocate for the technology. Don't get me wrong, I'll fit a gas boiler, I will pull a dirty nappy out of a toilet, to earn £5. It doesn't bother me because I've been around the block, I've seen all the systems, I've done all the systems and that. But for me, an air source heat pump at the end of the day, get the design right, get the spec right, not even in the right house. Because I fitted one recently in a Victorian property and spoke to the owner the other day, absolutely delighted with it. Done one.
Can I help you on that one?
Yeah, you helped me with that one. Yeah, how drafty was that house? It wasn't all
big old rads in there, wouldn't
big old rads.
Because people say about insulation, like obviously old buildings not being insulated properly.
I think the windows were fitting in 1990. He said the windows were fitted and that, and he's over the moon with it. The hot water's hot, and that's all that matter. This is the thing, yeah. Pete makes a very good point about, once you should design a system, it's going to work efficient, it's going to save you money. But at the end of the day, what they want heat and hot water. Yeah, that's all they want. And you've got to be realistic. But that's
the end of the day. That's very true. That's all I ever said. They want heating and hot water. That's all they're worried about. They're not giving a crap how they get to it.
They don't care if it's got black clips or it's painted black and the pipes are shiny in that. They want to get home, have a hot shower, and the thing to be reliable. If it means that you're fitting the boiler to just get that, good luck to you, because I'd do the same.
Yeah, but if you're trying to make difference...
Yes.
Yeah, if you're trying to make a difference to their heating consumption, if you want to make a difference to, like, them actually saving money a year and it actually working efficiently...
Engineers don't care about that.
No,
they're not engineers then, if they're not caring.
I know a lot of engineers don't care about that. But if you do, because you're trying to look out for your customer in the long run, then you would pay extra instead of just throwing in something with plastic fucking everywhere and whatever.
So when I do a bit of upselling to a client, I say to him, look, I'd love to put this boiler onto weather comp or low compensating controls. I say this to him. I say to him, we don't have an energy crisis in this country. We have an energy wastage problem. We're wasting energy. So when I see a 30 kilowatt system boiler sitting in a 2-bed house because they've got a 300 litre cylinder, that wasn't designed properly. No. That 30 kilowatt could heat 3-4 of those homes.
Guilty. I've done it in the past.
We all have, Pete, yeah. I would hold my hands up, be the first to say, I fitted a 40 kilowatt CDI system boiler, whatever, in a 4-bed house because I thought, because it's a big house.
I fitted a 40 kilowatt titanium with only 9 litres a minute. What?
The majority of people do it. They just think big house, 30, 40 kilowatt.
Yeah.
People... Like I say, people are not getting paid to design.
No, it's not. We wasn't taught it because we went through a generation of flat bashing.
Exactly.
And getting the money in quick.
And then this is where it comes full circle. We have come full circle as an industry now, because the industry was dumbed down. We was given this combi boiler that did all our thinking for us. If you actually if you
combi boiler does it all.
You think about it, combi boiler cycles constantly.
But to be fair, let's like say you've done a full cycle. Remember, plumbers used to have Mears calculators, didn't they?
And they're quite accurate, actually.
Yeah. Mears calculators. That went out the fucking wall when combi boilers come in, right? Because
I use that a lot, actually.
Old boilers had to be still designed right, didn't they?
But
because of condensation.
DC12, weren't they? So because they didn't want the condensation to rust out the
heat
exchanger, so they had to design. So they had to come back hot.
Exactly.
Their return had to come back hot to But then combi boiler. There's lots and lots of issues with the industry that we could talk for days on and that. When the combi boiler first came in, it made it easy. It's like, well, I just put 5 pipes to it because there was no condense by then, and then away you went. And then obviously, then they had
to cap off that thing.
I was thinking, I used to use that for radiators and that, because I'm thinking like about design that people don't do. I think, did I do it? And I'm like, yeah, when I done the new builds, I did.
Well, that's why you
had the Mears calculator.
Well, that's why you had 10 mil pipe, because it was designed that 10 mil pipe could take the kilowatt load down to that radiator to heat that room at its design temperature. So there was design in it, but that was done by some M&E consultant, miles and miles away, and he was given a drawing, and you just followed the drawing. So you weren't any thinking there. But now the industry's come full circle, because there's lots of one-man bands, and they're actually doing these systems, and that they've had to learn the design. The industry is full of clever people. You don't realise how clever these people are, because you've got to be very good at physics. You've got to be very good at maths. Also you've got to run a business as well. So you've got to be very financially minded to run a business. You also got to be your health and safety and your HR department.
A lot goes into it.
A lot goes into it, and that's
you,
what people
you really notice when you take on an apprentice.
Yeah.
When they don't know what a bloody set of grips are, or you just realise how much there is to teach someone.
Well, the first thing I give an apprentice is the Screwfix catalogue and say to him, right, read that, because everything you need to know is in that book.
Yeah.
You want to fucking go, see that there? That is where you put your phone for the day.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That sounds hypocritical coming from me, but they're like that, aren't they? They're all like it. I remember I had an apprentice, he was on his phone constantly. This was before I was even on social media. I thought, what is he looking at, this little shit? Do you know what I mean? He's just on it. Every given time he was on it.
A lot of potential, but just weren't interested.
Somebody said to me the other day, they said to me, do you want your son to see you coming home knackered, tired, dirty? And that? I was like, yeah, because he will see that his dad walks through the door, he's grafted, he's worked hard on that. And the problem with this generation, and maybe I'm completely wrong, and I hope I am, they're so on the tablets, they're on the computers and that, they don't see hard graft no more, because they can make money, by pressing a few keypads and that. Yeah. But if my son sees me coming through the door and, and I've worked hard that day, and that maybe he might say, well, actually, I can do this, and it builds a stronger character in him, and that goes for, that. By my generation, it was all about that, because the computers weren't really around. They were in their infancy, and people started getting into the graphic design and all that sort of stuff, and then the naughty kids went into the construction industry.
The numbers must be falling hard of people coming through into trades.
They are.
I'd love to know the percentage. It must be.
Well, I'd love to have an apprentice. I know Pete could do with an apprentice and that, but too expensive. Yeah. I can just about looking after myself.
If I paid my apprentice, he'd probably end up with more money than me at the end of the
day. Do you think you could, in terms of time-wise, if they were good, do you think you could do more work in a day by having an apprentice to earn more money to cover that person?
No.
They slow you down. But the thing is, we've said this, it's better. We had the same conversation this afternoon, didn't we? It's better working with somebody 100%. Than on your own. When we work together, we have good crack, don't we? We have proper good crack.
I'd rather pay a premium than that money. So I'd rather have someone like Pete with me for 2 days a week, because I know that job will get done to a high standard and there won't be any problems, than have an apprentice with me for that whole week, pay him the same money, and then he hasn't tightened that nut up. Mrs. Jones is ringing me because water's coming through his ceiling. That's just headache. I don't want the headache. I'd rather pay the premium.
What if it was someone just sort of bringing your tools up to the second floor, and that can save a lot of time?
I need to lose some weight. I'd rather do it myself.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, but sometimes I don't know. I think sometimes, like you say, John, like apprentices can cause more fucking harm than good. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you're investing time in them, and then at the end of the day, we all know what apprentices are like. It's like the colleges; they get investment into them, and then they end up fucking off and not doing the fucking job at all. You invest money in an apprentice; he's not really taking it in. Is he there really? What? Just because his mummy told him to get there, and then he comes out and he goes off and gets another job with another company, or fucks off on his own.
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
I think with
the
living crisis that we're currently going through as a country as well, is that there's so much pressure on you as a person outside of work that you don't need that extra pressure of looking after somebody that can make a mistake. And that's the position I feel at the moment. I feel like, we're a one income family. The government's not made it easy for my business with all the extra taxes and burdens that I've done. That now I've got to take on somebody that's a bit green. I just can't be dealing with that. But even though I need it, if that makes sense, I'm getting old and getting shot to pieces. It's a vicious circle that we find in industry, and I find that the industry is literally falling apart by the seams in a lot of areas.
I mean, it's so stressful. Right? You don't want to be hanging an apprentice over a balcony, don't you? Because he's forgot to get you a ham and cheese sandwich.
There's a funny story about a balcony, right? So years and years ago, right, I was working with a guy called Richard, and we went for breakfast. Yeah, so I went out there and God, I've got no money, and I hate asking this guy for anything. I said to him, "Do you mind paying for my breakfast, Richard?" He went, "You're right then." So he paid for my breakfast. Anyway, we was fitting a boiler at the time. There's one new one with a condensing pipe in that. So he put in the condensing pipe in, I drilled it out, and he drilled it really low. So he looked out the window and he went to me, "I'll tell you what, mate, I'll lean you out the window, I'll hold your legs, and you poke the condensing pipe through the thing." So I went, "All right then." So I'm leaning out this window about 16 stories up, no word of lie. He's got me around like this. He was a big old boy, he was, right, and I'm poking it through. The woman walked through the door. She went, "What the hell are you doing?" He went, "Owes me £5 for breakfast."
Things we done with his kids. I remember like my mate doing that, like just strolling from balcony to balcony. Like it's like, "What the fuck are you doing, you nutter?" Do you know what I mean? The first week I met him, he was just climbing out on the like balcony and just jumping from the balcony onto the scaffold. I was like, "You're mental."
The funniest one that happened to me was a guy called Scott. He decided to snatch an immersion.
Go on.
So he's been on the firm like literally like 2 minutes, and they called him out and said, "Oh, Mrs. Smith has got no hot water in that," and it was all direct, immersions, that's so top and bottom and that. Anyway, he's gone there, and I don't know what he's thinking was. I mean, anyway, he's on the 6th or 7th floor, and on the top is like 20,000 gallon tanks because they're feeding the whole building. So he thought, like an immersion's like 3 inches in diameter, and he's like, he's cracked it. And apparently the woman said she was sitting there having a toast and tea, and he flew past her in the corridor. He looked like a cartoon character, like this. And he's popped the immersion, it's hit him straight in the chest, it's blew him across the hallway. Wait, we get a phone call saying, "Can you go to see Scott? He's in a lot of trouble." As we get there, I looked at Brian. Brian's looked at me, the bloke. He went, "You got your waders?" Because we could see water cascading down the stairs of this building, and all the residents are standing outside of that. And Scott comes out like a drowned rat, and he pulled his chest, his shirt open, and he looked like Iron Man. He had this bruise already of a perfect hexagon in his chest, and we've gone up to the flat, and we just waded in this thing and he dumped pretty much like 20,000 gallons of water down his flat, mate. They made him a manager, you know that.
I tell you what,
Get off the tools.
We dumped about that as well. Same, weren't an immersion. My mate was like, I was doing the bathroom. He was ripping out some pipework in the toilet, the other side of the threshold of the hallway in these flats. And he's gone, "Babe!" They've gone round and gone, "What?" He went, "Nah, had ya?" And I've gone, "Babe, you prick." Gone back round. All of a sudden I've heard, "Babe!" Oh, "Yeah, whatever, you mug." Put my head round. He's nicked a fucking 22 down service with the fucking angle grinder. He's going, like that. We've got. What do you do when you're fucking 18? You get up there on the toilet and you just put your t-shirt up on it. We're holding the t-shirt up on it going, "I don't know what to fucking do," do you know what I mean? In the end, I think we turned off the mains outside, and then once the tank had drained, over the threshold of the water was ground floor, right? All the water's piling over the threshold of the fucking step, and this fucking demolition bloke, I will never forget it, right? He's just stood in the front door looking at us going like this and walk pouring over the step. He's hit his knees and he's going, just started laughing at us, proper laughing at us. And the funny thing was about it, we wasn't even meant to be in that flat. We thought what we do, because we was young bucks, because we already got our first job done, we thought, we'll use our initiative and we'll get the keys to another flat and rip it out. It wasn't even on the programme. Our boss went fucking mental at us. But,
do you remember them old job sheets you get written out in paper and that, and you sort of just ticked them off? Well, I went to one, it was supposed to be 28 St John's or something. I went to 28A. And the old lady opened up the door, I went, kettle broken, barged my way in, changed all the radiator valves on it, gone back to the office, and they said, oh, that guy from 28 said that you never turned up. I said, what guy? It was an old lady. Gone back round and the old bill was there. I was like, oh. Geezer's burgled me house for my radiator valves.
I went to, it's funny, like, because we had, right, I'll never forget this one as well. We was at Upper Clapton Road, and my mate, right, it was the same job that we had that flood on. This bloke, right, this site manager, I felt sorry for him. He looked like a Swedish porn star, right? I think his name was Stuart. Anyway, I'll never forget my mate, right? He used to crack the whip on us all the time, right? Crack the whip on us. And then one day, his bosses come down to him, right? And he'd made us rip out a flat, right, of plumbing, etc. and that. And he's gone, Stuart, or whatever his name was, he's the main guy's gone, Stuart, he's gone, what the hell is going on? Where is the water? Where is resident going to get the water from? How are they going to get hot water? He's gone, don't tell me a Burco boiler. Don't tell me a Burco boiler. My mate put his head around the corner and a Burco boiler. Like, he went fucking mental at this fucking site agent. I felt sorry for the Swedish porn star because he was just like, he'd give us shit the whole year, but in the end he got dressed down by somebody up above him. It was like, I felt really bad for him. But my mate, he just slipped his head in, a Burco boiler. It was fucking hilarious, it was. But yeah, I like them days on site. They were great days on site.
I tell you what, where the characters gone, Pete? Eh?
Mate, they go, well, I don't know, they're all social media stars now, aren't they?
God help us.
They're all socials, showing their plumbing.
What's the plans for the future then, John?
I'm trying to get a course together, a wiring course. I believe that there's a lack of knowledge in that side of things. Like I said, there seems to be this gap all the time in knowledge, and I find that wiring seems to be a massive, part of it. Amount of DMs I get or messages about, how do I, wire this system? What's the most efficient way in that? And I'd like to get a course going within the next 6 months. I've currently got something in the pipeline. I'd like Pete to come on it with me and help, because obviously he's got a world of knowledge and experience that I think that people could learn from. I know he jokes around all the time. I've said it before, and it winds me up that but he'd be very good at teaching. He's got that way with people and that.
A teacher. I teach you.
Teach them, yeah.
Would you like me to teach you?
So that's hopefully the future. I currently work with ECA boilers. They've been very good to me recently. So I do like their tech side of things and that. And I'd like to sort of move more into that as I wind down, because I think a lot of the industries, all the industries, there's no exit strategy. I believe that guys, they just think they can do this job forever and a day, and that
they have no backup.
They have no backup.
Retirement.
Exactly, yeah. and I'm sort of looking at the next 20 to 25 years, and thinking to myself, well, I won't be able to lift the boilers like I can. I don't think I can run up and down the stairs like I can. So I just want to get as much experience with the heat pumps and the renewable side of things, because I don't believe that you can teach this stuff if you've got no experience. If you've never fitted one, how can you teach somebody? That's why I think like the LCL awards that you have to be able to fit the renewables. And that, the last time I went on it a few years ago, the guy openly admitted that he never fitted an air source heat pump. And I was just like, really? I don't want to be trained. It's nothing against him. I don't want to be trained by somebody who's never fitted one in the field. Yeah. So that's why I think small courses, maybe move it online from experienced engineers who have actually tried these methods, found they work or don't work, and that. I think the industry's got a skill gap, as I said. I like to fill that skill gap with my little bit of experience. I'm not saying I'm the best, I know everything, but every day's a learning day, the old classic saying. And hopefully move more into teaching later on. As I slow down on the tools, move into teach people my experiences and my mistakes. I think that if I can say to people, these are all the mistakes I've done over the last 30, 40 years, don't do them.
Oh, I thought you was going to teach them the mistakes, and then when they come back, you go, "Yeah, that was a mistake."
Yeah, like
now I'll teach you the right way.
Yeah, like don't plumb in a condense to a sunny flow.
Yeah. Did you ever mention that? Yeah, you mentioned that before, didn't you?
I've mentioned that.
Tell them if you didn't mention it on here. Mention it.
Well, you really want me to tell a story again?
Tell the story on that. Yeah.
Have you know this, Keiran?
I think I do.
I'm famous for this one. This is like the greatest fuck up ever.
Yeah.
So fit the combi, right? So like the guy was like want the combi here. So it was an old Micron coming out, so they didn't have a condense pipe. Anyway, I've looked underneath the boiler and there's a 1.25 inch waste running past. I thought, oh, brilliant, sweet, So piped it up and out, done the business and everything. I was like really happy with it. There you go, love, here's your handover. See you later. Checks in the post and all that. So I'm sitting there having my dinner. Phone call goes and the woman was ringing up. She goes, John, we're sitting in the conservatory and all this brand stuff's flying out the flue. It's going over our roof and next door's garden and that. I'm like, well, that's very strange. I'll come over. So I get in the van, I drive back over there. Anyway, I looked at the conservatory roof and I knew straight away what I'd done. I took the front of the boiler off like that and the guy's turning around to me going, shit's hit the fan, innit? I was like, fucking has.
He actually said his boiler shit himself.
I piped the condense to the outlet of the Sani flue. So they flushed the outlets as they flushed the toilet. It shot straight up there, gone up the condense, straight through the thing, up obviously through the heat exchanger and out the flue. So it absolutely wrecked the boiler. It's no coming back from that. I don't care how much you have it serviced, you're not coming back. So I was a boiler down in a day's money, Yeah, it's bad. But that story's been told. Never done that again. I told that story, but then I openly admit it.
I don't remember it being the outlet.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, it's been a nice conversation, John.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, mate.
Thanks for not falling asleep, Pete.
No, you're all right, mate. got me 60 winks before you come in, or 40 winks, whatever they call it. He bought his shit. He bought the donuts in. He bought the sausage rolls in. Robbie's still salivating over there because he's
I'm feeling it a bit now.
You're feeling it now,
It's been
Keiran.
24 hours.
You do look unhealthy.
You do look thinner. I must admit, since I turned up.
You're looking like
looking pale.
You're looking like a piece of shit, to be quite honest.
I need some more of that tape, don't he? Talks about.
Yeah, your wrinkles are really showing. They're really showing today.
They're showing those, yeah.
Must be to do with the fasting.
It's this one here. Because I sleep on this side of my face, so this side's always bad. It goes like...
No one's mentioned.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, we didn't want to mention. We thought you wanted to go au naturel. Yeah, look, this is me. I was bald last year. Now I'm...
What, did you go and get it done?
Yeah, I got it done. Yeah, mate. Straight up. There's no...
You went Turkey?
No, I had it done over here.
Oh, we thought you got it done through ECA Boilers.
When?
December time. So what it was,
it
right?
takes a few months to come
Pete's
through.
known me a long time. Pete and I are quite close. I like to say we're really good pals now, and he always knew that I was very conscious about it, and I lost a lot of confidence, lost a lot of confidence in that. And you guys were filming at FX, and somebody commented that I had 5 foreheads, and that was the... That was,
Who was that?
And do you know what?
Never heard that one.
Normally, I've got quite thick skin. You can say what you like about me, providing you can take it back, right? And but that one cut deep. And I turned around to my missus, and she went, "Well, women have hair extensions all the time." And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm getting this done." And I think Pete and a few other boys were like the first I told and everything, and just had it done. And yes,
well, it's all right, mate.
Confidence is back.
It's all right. I can't see them other 4 foreheads. They're gone now. They're gone.
Yeah,
all right.
Well, keep smashing it. Keep being a good advocate for the I was going to say plumbing, but you do everything, didn't you?
I'm a plumber. Let's call it plumbers. Come on. All these
Mate.
heating engineers, gas engineers,
you're
and
electrician
that.
as well. That's what I meant.
All them fucking posh heating engineers with all their fucking like heat losses and.
I'm a plumber.
I'm a heating fucking
No, I
engineer.
meant
we looked at
plumbing
them.
and gas. I meant like
Pete,
plumbing electric.
How many people's phones you in as Pete the plumber?
Yeah.
That is it. That's your title.
Mate,
Just
if
can't
there weren't
talk.
plumbing, there wouldn't be fucking heating. Let's have that one fucking right, bruv. There would be gas
That's it.
central
The
heating.
Romans had plumbing before eating.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Yeah, keep smashing it. We need more people like you, I think, to bring
Thank
the
you.
trade up. But yeah.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for coming,
No,
mate.
thanks for having me on.
Cheers,
It's
mate.
been funny.